The Aztec Empire is often imagined as one unified kingdom, ruled by a single capital and a single people. But the political reality was more layered. What historians call the Aztec Empire was originally the Triple Alliance, a partnership between three Nahua city-states, Mexico-Tenochtitlan, Tetzcoco, and Tlacopan. Its central ruling people are more accurately known as the Mexica, though the broader term Aztec remains common. From 1428 to 1521, this alliance dominated the Valley of Mexico and much of central Mexico. Its power did not come from controlling every village directly. It came from a flexible system of conquest, tribute, local autonomy, and religious authority. To understand the empire, we need to see it not just as a conquering state, but as a network of cities bound together by pressure, profit, and prestige. The Triple Alliance emerged after a major regional struggle. Before its rise, the city of Azcapotzalco had been the strongest power in the Valley of Mexico. Tenochtitlan and other cities existed within that older order, often as tributaries or dependent partners. But when conflict and civil war weakened Azcapotzalco, the victors reorganized the political map. Tenochtitlan joined with Tetzcoco and Tlacopan to create a new alliance that could divide authority, share the benefits of tribute, and prevent any immediate return to Azcapotzalco's dominance. At first, this arrangement was not simply Tenochtitlan ruling everyone else. It was a coalition of three self-governed city-states, each bringing legitimacy, military strength, and regional connections. That coalition became the base from which a much larger imperial system would grow. Over time, the balance inside the alliance changed. Tenochtitlan became the leading partner, especially in military and imperial affairs. Its location helped. Built on an island in Lake Texcoco, the city was defensible, connected by causeways, and surrounded by waterways that supported trade and movement. As conquests expanded, tribute goods and political attention flowed toward the capital. Wealth supported armies, temples, markets, and elite power. Tetzcoco remained significant, especially as a respected political and cultural center, and Tlacopan retained a formal place in the alliance. But by the time Spanish forces arrived in 1519, the lands of the Triple Alliance were effectively ruled from Tenochtitlan. The alliance still existed, but its power had become increasingly concentrated in the Mexica capital. The empire expanded by war, but it did not always govern by replacing local rulers. This is one of the most important features of Aztec rule. Scholars often describe it as hegemonic or indirect, meaning the empire usually demanded obedience rather than total administrative control. When a city was conquered, its existing ruler could often remain in power, as long as the city accepted the terms of the alliance. Those terms usually included tribute payments and military support when the empire called for soldiers. This made expansion efficient. The Mexica did not need to send officials into every town or rebuild every local government. Instead, they inserted themselves above local politics, turning independent cities into tributary partners whose own leaders enforced imperial obligations from within. Tribute was the heart of this system. Conquered cities were expected to pay goods to the alliance on a regular basis, often semi-annually. These payments could include food, textiles, cotton, feathers, cacao, military equipment, luxury items, and specialized local products. Tribute was practical because it supplied the capital and rewarded the elite. But it was also symbolic. Every delivery reminded conquered communities that they stood beneath the imperial order. At the same time, tribute connected different regions into one economic network. Goods from distant climates and local specialties moved toward Tenochtitlan, where they could be redistributed, displayed, or consumed. In this way, military victory became recurring wealth, and recurring wealth became the foundation for further campaigns, public ceremonies, and political dominance. At its height, the Triple Alliance controlled most of central Mexico and reached into more distant parts of Mesoamerica. One example was Xoconochco, an Aztec-controlled province near the present-day Guatemalan border. Its distance shows how valuable some territories were, even when they were far from the Valley of Mexico. But this also reveals that the empire was not a neat, evenly governed block of land. Some areas were closely tied to the capital. Others functioned more like strategic tributary zones, held through military pressure, political agreements, and economic incentives. The map of Aztec power was therefore uneven. It was made of strong centers, dependent cities, distant enclaves, resistant neighbors, and local communities that were connected to Tenochtitlan in different degrees. For conquered cities, imperial rule could bring both burden and benefit. The burden was obvious: tribute payments, military obligations, and political subordination. But the alliance also offered protection and stability. A city that accepted Aztec authority could gain security against rivals and become part of a wider economic system. Local elites might keep their offices and even benefit from the prestige of being connected to the dominant power. This is why indirect empire can be so effective. It does not rely only on force. It also gives local rulers reasons to cooperate. Yet that cooperation was often fragile. Many subject communities may have complied because resistance was dangerous, not because they loved Tenochtitlan. Beneath the surface of stability, resentment could accumulate. Religion helped give the empire meaning and legitimacy. Nahua thought included the concept of Teotl, a sacred divine force that could be understood in broad, philosophical terms while also appearing through many gods, natural powers, and ritual forms. The religious life of the empire was not one simple system imposed everywhere in exactly the same way. Popular religion embraced myths, ceremonies, and a diverse pantheon. Elite interpretations could emphasize more unified ideas of divine power. The state religion made room for this complexity. It officially recognized major cults and represented important deities within the central temple precinct of Tenochtitlan. This mattered politically because religion allowed different peoples to be included without having to erase all their traditions. Even though local religious traditions could continue, conquered peoples were expected to acknowledge the imperial god Huitzilopochtli, the distinctive warlike patron deity of the Mexica. This requirement mirrored the political system itself. Local gods could remain, just as local rulers could remain, but they had to exist beneath a larger imperial hierarchy. Huitzilopochtli's importance tied warfare, Mexica identity, and state power together. Conquest was not presented as merely a search for wealth. It was linked to sacred order and the prestige of the capital. By adding the imperial god to local pantheons, subject communities symbolically accepted Tenochtitlan's place at the top of the system. Religion became a way to organize diversity while making subordination feel cosmically significant. The central temple precinct of Tenochtitlan was therefore more than a holy place. It was an imperial stage. By representing recognized cults and emphasizing the Mexica patron god, the capital displayed its ability to gather many peoples, gods, and territories into one order. Visitors and tributaries could see wealth, ritual, architecture, and political authority concentrated in a single ceremonial center. This made the city feel not only powerful, but necessary. In a world of many city-states and local identities, the capital had to project a larger vision. Its temples and ceremonies communicated that Tenochtitlan stood at the center of both politics and sacred life. The empire's authority was not only enforced by warriors, it was performed through ritual and made visible in stone. Military power remained essential. The alliance waged wars of conquest after its formation, and every campaign could bring new tribute, new soldiers, and new political leverage. Conquered cities were expected to supply military forces when needed, which meant defeated communities could be folded into later campaigns. This created a cycle: war produced tribute, tribute sustained power, and power enabled more war. But the same system also depended on continued confidence in the center. Because many local rulers were left in place, subject cities retained their own political structures. If Tenochtitlan seemed unbeatable, those structures helped enforce imperial demands. If Tenochtitlan seemed vulnerable, those same structures could become the basis for rebellion or defection. When Hernán Cortés arrived in 1519, he entered this complicated political landscape. The Spanish did not confront a perfectly unified empire whose subjects all stood behind Tenochtitlan. They entered a region shaped by old rivalries, tribute burdens, local ambitions, and resentments toward Mexica dominance. The fall of the Triple Alliance in 1521 was carried out by Spanish conquistadores together with many indigenous allies, each with their own reasons for fighting. Spanish weapons, tactics, disease, and violence mattered greatly, but so did the empire's internal political structure. Its indirect rule had made expansion efficient, but it also meant many communities had never been fully absorbed. When the balance shifted, some saw a chance to break the power of Tenochtitlan. The Aztec Empire was powerful because it combined flexibility with force. It began as the Triple Alliance, a coalition born from regional conflict, and became a Mexica-dominated empire centered on Tenochtitlan. It conquered widely, but often ruled indirectly. It allowed local rulers and local religions to survive, but demanded tribute, soldiers, and recognition of imperial authority. Its economy moved goods across diverse regions. Its religion placed Huitzilopochtli and the capital at the symbolic center of power. This system ruled central Mexico for nearly a century before collapsing in 1521 under Spanish attack and indigenous opposition. Its history shows that empires are not always built by direct control. Sometimes they are built by making many communities serve one center while still appearing to govern themselves. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.